Hey everybody, it's Akar, and I wanted to do a retrospective. It's been a little over a month since the new Battlegrounds update has come out, and I kind of wanted to talk about it more now that we've had some time to digest it, time to actually play the game a little bit more and experience it firsthand. So I'm going to go over some of the issues that I think are good, some of the issues that I think could be changed and worked on, and overall my thoughts on the whole process. So I'm just going to play some BG footage overhand because I don't really want to just talk to you guys straight up, like it'll be boring. I want to give you guys some things to look at while we're doing this. So we're gonna have some Battlegrounds footage above us, so that's awesome. All right, so starting up, actually, you know what, I'm gonna go with the first thing first. I've been streaming again on YouTube lately, so stop by during the days if you want to. I'm gonna do a little bit of self-promotion beforehand, so sorry about that. Anyways, now we're moving on. Sorry. So the Battlegrounds update, I initially was very resistant to it, and I didn't like it at first, and I still have some of those opinions still that are of the same belief. I believe that this game is really thriving when it's a 3-team environment, when it's 4v4v4 of the old BGs. I think that was really nice. So there was a lot of issues with balance, and I think having 3 teams really kind of helped counteract that as well. One of my biggest issues that I've come across so far with the 2-sided BGs is that it's very hard to balance them. And I don't have all of the answers, but I have a few things that I would suggest as far as making the games a little bit smoother. So, like I said, it's difficult to balance these matches because this game has always been about 3 teams. It's never been about 2 teams unless it's like duels, but I mean, that doesn't really count. That's something else entirely. But I'm talking about in a team environment, it's always been about 3 teams. It's always been either Cyrodiil or Imperial City, where it's AD versus EP versus DC, or it's been in the Battlegrounds environment where it's those 3 teams. So one of those things that I've always noticed about either Cyrodiil, Imperial City, or even BGs is when one team dominates, those other 2 teams subconsciously kind of team up on that other team. And that makes it so that no team can stay on top for too long. And that's always been a form of balance in itself. And it's kind of like Darwinism in a way, where the top will be kind of overrun by the other 2 teams. We don't have that in the new BGs, and I think that's a really big problem. I think that's one of the issues that a lot of people have felt, myself included, where a lot of the matches feel incredibly one-sided, and I think that's very difficult as far as kind of matchmaking goes. A lot of the things that I've seen is kind of my first proposal that I'm going to come out with that you guys could agree with me, you could not. My biggest first proposal is I think that when people load into the battlegrounds, I think that people's ultimates should be wiped clean and go to 0. Because what I've noticed in a lot of 8v8s, especially death matches, is whatever team wipes the other team first with those ultimates, they're going to most likely win the match. And that's always it's always a snowball effect from the snowball at the top of the hill just rolling down, and that's kind of how I've seen it in most battleground matches. So I feel like if you wipe out the ultimates, it's all about ult generation as well. And you can have a little bit more of a brawl at the beginning of a match that's more fair as well. Because honestly, not everybody goes into a match with full ultimate. I try to make sure I do every time, but I know not everybody does. So my biggest first change would be I think the ultimates should be wiped to 0. I think that'd be a really good way to kind of just even the playing field overall. That would make it so that healers don't have healing ults ready, and that would make it so that damage builds don't have their damage ults ready to go right off the rip. And I think it would make for a more brawler-esque playstyle at the beginning and more of a struggle at the beginning rather than a clear wipe and then a roll from there, because that's kind of what I've seen most matches be so far. Whether it's 4v4 or 8v8, I've seen a lot of rolls because of that. And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of my matches feel incredibly one-sided because of that. So that's the first thing I would change. Something else that I would really like to see change a lot is a lot of the times when I'm doing 4v4 and we're doing deathmatch and one team, or even not just deathmatch, but other matches as well. Whenever I see one team starting to get rolled, like they get 2 wipes out there, or even 1 wipe, and then 1 or 2 people die on the team, I see the rest of the team stay up and spawn and kind of just wait there. And I think that a big issue is that 2-minute timer is way too long for people. I understand that at the beginning of the game, it might be a little bit annoying to be teleporting every 2 seconds, but my thought process is I think that we should lower that timer to 20 seconds. That way, it's always synced up whether you're, say you die and then you respawn, and then right when you respawn, or like a second after you respawn, one of your teammates dies. So it give you enough time to sync up so that you can regroup with your teammates, but it's not going to give you enough time to kind of just stay there and just snipe from the top ropes every time that, and just stay up there for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is an incredibly long time in a match like this, and it makes it so that these matches are incredibly drawn out, because honestly, most matches, again, they're a steamroll. And I think that if we do that, we could all just move on to the next game. And nobody likes to get farmed. Nobody likes to just be in that situation where it's just an incredible domination, and there's absolutely just there's no even chance between the two teams. The amount of times that that's happened, whether I've been on both sides of that too. I've been on the receiving end of that, and I've been on the giving side of that. Like, I have had that situation so many more times than I can count. And to me, staying up and spawn is something that a lot of people do. And I think bringing that timer down to 20 seconds, I really think that that would help the flow of matches and make it so that there are matches more often, because it would really significantly reduce the times of the matches, because a lot of it, like I said, it's really, it gets drawn out because a lot of people just stay in spawn a lot of the time. That being said, those are two things that I would change, but some things that I do like are, I was really not expecting to like Capture the Relic as much as I did, but Capture the Relic, in my opinion, is probably the best game mode right now for Battlegrounds. I'm not really the biggest fan of deathmatch, because I find those matches to be over really quickly unless they're like 17 healers, but that's a different problem entirely. But Capture the Relic, it's never been my favorite kind of gameplay, but now that's just two teams, you're always having somebody on defense, so it's not just going to be like free matches. So you have to actually be really tactical about going in and being offensive and all that stuff. And I actually really like it a lot. I'm usually never an objective gamer. Like, I've always been the kind of person that says like, well, I'm just going to go off and go for kills. And I mean, I kind of still am in a way, but I really do like it a lot. It's fun. And it's one of those things that I wasn't expecting to have that much fun. And overall, it's one of those things that I enjoy. I know I kind of am going around in circles, but I just wanted to kind of highlight, hey, Zealous did a good job with keeping a fun game mode in there. I would also maybe try and add a few more types of game modes. I feel like just having the big BG update and the big PvP update, the first PvP update in 7 years, and it's just kind of the same BG game modes. I feel like it's kind of stale in a way already. It's not going to keep everybody's attention for too long. But that being said, I also am a big fan of sigils as well. Sigils in 8v8 are a lot of fun, and it's one of those things that I wasn't expecting to have that much fun. When they first announced that sigils were going to be included in 8v8, I initially was like, whoa, that's a terrible idea. What are you guys doing? Like, how dare you do this? We tried it once and it didn't work, and I was wrong. I love it. I'm a huge I'm a sigil abuser. I am all the time. I'm going on journeys through the maps like, hey, where can I find my next sigil? Give me a sigil. I'm running the entire time, just like, I like half the time I'm not even PvPing. I'm like, where can I find a sigil? Give me one. And so I'm I'm loving it. I was wrong about that. I was so wrong about that. So I wanted to also I also wanted to highlight the good parts, because like these BG updates, they weren't the worst thing in the world. I feel like with some minor tweaks and some minor changes, I feel like they could actually be a lot of fun. One other thing that I would do as well is the map rotation. Even after a month, it's already feeling a little bit on the stale side. So I feel like, I know it take a slight little bit of map rework design, but I feel like we can bring back a few of those old maps as well into these. And I know that the spawn situation is going to be weird, because the original maps were designed around 3 teams. But I mean, I wouldn't care personally if the maps were brought back, and like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit weird with the way the spawns are, or if you just want to rework them slightly, like, yeah, that's cool too. I would love to have the old maps into the rotation as well as the new maps. That way there's a more of a variety and we've got more maps to play on. Because at this point, we've been here for a month, and yeah, it's cool. Like, I know a month is not that long of a time, but I'm kind of already slightly bored of these maps. I like the maps. I think they're really cool and interesting maps. I'm not really a big fan of these really small ones, like the bridge one. Not my favorite. The one, I forgot the name of it, but like the Aztec looking one on top of like a mountain with like all the foliage and stuff. Not the biggest fan, but hey, look, I appreciate the level design. I think they look really good. At the end of the day, I'm not really the biggest fan of it for PvP. But overall, there are some things that I really like as well. I hope that we could see more PvP updates in the future. I hope that if we do highlight BGs more often in the future on a large scale level, I hope that maybe we include more actual PvPers in the conversation. I don't want to get too, political on that one, but I really feel like we can probably do a better job if we come together. But that's a whole different story, guys. That's a whole different story. And one more thing that I would change as well is I really feel like there needs to be a significant overhaul of the medal system. There are matches where somebody just sits back and holds block and heals, and they're going to be top of the leaderboard. And they're also going to be gaining points on the actual overall leaderboard just by healing. But if a player is doing DPS and getting like all the kills, they don't get nearly as many medals and they don't get nearly as high in the leaderboard, so they can't get those rewards that the healers get. But I think there needs to be a significant overhaul of the actual medal system, because I think that the way it is currently, it's just promoting a hold block and heal culture, which is not that healthy for the game, because that means that nobody's dying, and that is not good. Player versus player, you're supposed to have players dying, and this is just promoting more people just to play healers, where look, healer is a viable playstyle. I understand that, but that being said, I don't think everybody that plays the game should be a healer. They shouldn't be forced into healing if they want to be at the top of the leaderboard, and right now that's kind of how it is. And then the last thing that I would say as well that should be slightly adjusted in my opinion is I really feel like the MMR system, I feel like it's incredibly broken right now. I think that we need to adjust that, where instead of its matches played to increase your MMR, I believe it should be matches won. Doesn't matter. I know that there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to be put in an unwinnable situation because of your teammates or of the people that you're up against. But at the end of the day, that's matchmaking for you. Any other video game has that exact same situation. Every other video game that I've played, it's going to be those games where you're grinding that ranked ladder and you just come across one or two of those games where you're just like, well, that was unplayable, but let's get back at it. I feel like we got to go back on your performance as far as your KD goes. And then on top of that, yes, you could bring some heals into it too, because I know that that's a different situation as well. But also your winning and losing, I believe that should be heavily involved with your MMR, with whatever MMR exists. I'm not exactly sure how the system works entirely, but I do believe that for the most part, your MMR is based off of your matches played, which I don't think that's a healthy system for the game. I don't believe there's another game that does that. And I think that that's for a reason. I don't think it's a good idea. So I personally would change that. I think it would be a good idea to change that and really overhaul that system. I don't know how difficult it would be to change that system. I hope not too much, but I really feel like that's something else that needs to change. That way the MMR system can balance out, because it's been a month and I figured the MMR system would semi-balance out by now, but at this point it's still out of whack. I'm still finding teammates that are loading in with 16k HP, and I'm just like, bro, like, I understand you need to do your dailies, but that's not working, dude. But mostly that's everything that I want to talk about. What are your guys' thoughts? Have you guys been enjoying the new BGs? Have you not been enjoying? What do you enjoy about it, and what don't you enjoy about it specifically? And again, as always, we're trying to be more positive on the channel here, so please, you're more than welcome to not agree with something. You're more than welcome to be like, hey, I'm not a fan of the BGs, but I just ask that you guys do it in a respectful manner. That's all I ask you guys to do. I know a lot of you guys might not like it, and that's perfectly fine. Like, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. 100%. All I ask is that you just be respectful in the comments and just really just respect one another. Don't be calling each other names. Don't be calling each other dummies because they don't agree with you. That's perfectly fine. Also, last thing I'm gonna say is I've been recording this video at the night before I'm releasing this. And guys, I just wanted to say that we are at this point in time 7 subscribers away from hitting 10,000. So if you guys do me a favor, if anybody that's watching this at this point in time and is still not subscribed, if you just hit that subscribe button for me, I would highly appreciate that so much. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and I will see you guys on the next video. Later.